Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's session. My name is Danny, and I'm the event planner for the New York Reactor Space. Before we start, I have a few things to go over. Please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary, remain professional, and on topic. Useful links will be shared in the chat. The session is recorded and will be available on demand 24 to 48 hours on the Microsoft Reactor YouTube channel. Which brings us to today's session. It'll run for approximately 1 hour with time for questions throughout. I will now turn it over to our speaker for introductions.
Right. Hi, everyone. My name is Josh Demenge. I'm a cloud developer advocate for data in the Microsoft Developer Relations, and I'm joined today by Sumeleze.
Hey everyone, my name is Samueleza Digo. I'm also a cloud developer advocate within the data advocacy team within Microsoft Developer Relations. So today we're going to be talking about all things Copilot within Microsoft Fabric.
Right. Yeah. So by end of this session, we'll have explored the different ways how Copilot inside Microsoft Fabric is integrated to make your data processes and your workflows more accessible, more actionable for everyone, regardless of their technical expertise, and also how these Copilot-powered capabilities can streamline your data processes and bring cutting-edge AI capabilities directly in your workflows. So let's get started. All right, so most organizations are currently optimistic about the role of AI in their future. And in fact, 7% of them believe that AI will give them a critical competitive advantage. So this shows how powerful AI is, not just as a tool, but also as a key factor in staying ahead of the competition. There's a lot of excitement around AI right now, and it's pushing data leaders to move quickly into integrating it into their organizations. However, as we gear up for an AI-driven future, it's important to remember that AI is only as good as your data. And clean and well-organized data is the fuel that actually powers artificial intelligence. But before we actually dive into learning about the key capabilities of AI and data, let us just have a quick introduction on Microsoft Fabric, and maybe Someleza, you can help us with that.
Yeah, for sure. So Microsoft Fabric is central to the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform. And what I mean by that is that Microsoft Fabric is actually redesigning how we work with data by bringing all your work and your data and analysis tools into a single experience. Fabric moves away from individualized services to a unified stack, and also it tries to move away from from multiple databases to a unified data lake where you'll be able to get all of your data sources in one place. Also, it also moves from generative AI being bolted onto to generative AI simply being built by it using your data estate within Microsoft Fabric. So within Microsoft Fabric, right, it actually combines the best of Microsoft Power BI, Azure Synapse Analytics, and Azure Data Factory to create a single unified software as a service platform with 7 core workloads. Each of them are purpose built actually for specific personas and specific tasks. So, firstly, we can try to explore how all of these experiences empower data and business professionals alike to unlock the potential of their data and lay the foundation for the analytics process with role-specific experiences they need. So, for an example, you can think about data engineers, data warehousing professionals, data scientists, data analysts, and business users who will actually feel right at home. What I like to think about Microsoft Fabric with Josh is that you can think about it as almost as Office for data. Just like Office 365 has Word for document authoring, PowerPoint for presentations, Excels for spreadsheets, etc. In Microsoft Fabric, you have the 7 core workloads that I actually mentioned earlier on. So, first up, we'll start with Data Factory. I'll give you just a brief overview of what this seven workloads are. So Data Factory provides more than 150 connectors to cloud and on-premises data sources, a drag and drop experience for data transformation, and the ability to orchestrate data pipelines. Probably you'll see this a little bit later on during the presentation. Also, you also have the data engineering experience that actually enables you to have great authoring experience for Spark, instant start with live pools, and the ability to collaborate with others within your organization. And then you also have the data science workload that actually provides an end-to-end workflow for data scientists to build sophisticated AI models, collaborate easily, and train, deploy, and manage machine learning models without leaving your data estate. Then you have the data warehousing experience, which provides a converged lakehouse and data warehouse experience with industry level or industry leading SQL performance on open data platforms. Also, you have Power BI as an experience within Microsoft Fabric, which provides industry leading visualizations and AI driven analytics that enable business analysts and business users to gain insights from data. The Power BI experience itself is also deeply integrated into Microsoft 365. So it provides relevant insights where business users already work, where they're already comfortable. Within Microsoft Fabric, there is also two other workloads, which is real-time analytics and data activator, that have recently been upgraded and combined into a new workload called real-time intelligence. So with real-time intelligence, you can ingest data, streaming data with high granularity, dynamically transform streaming data, query data in real time for insights, and trigger actions like alerting production managers when equipment is overheating or rerunning jobs when data pipelines actually fail. So, with Microsoft Fabric's new workload hub, you can also discover and add and manage partner created workloads from industry leading ISVs as well. But before I actually get into deep with that, let's talk about the four promises that we have within Microsoft Fabric.
All right. Thanks, Someleze, for that quick introduction to Microsoft Fabric. So with Microsoft Fabric, as Someleze mentioned, being an end-to-end and unified analytics platform, it brings together all the data and all the analytics tools that an organization actually needs. So it's going to offer you a single and easy to manage business model where everything is unified under one single platform. So it's not many products together, but essentially it's just one single product. And with Microsoft Fabric, we actually have four key promises. And the first key promise for Microsoft Fabric is that it's a complete analytics platform. What that means is with Microsoft Fabric, organization can be able to unify their data estate through a comprehensive analytics platform that is going to work across a governed data environment. And it's a SaaS platform, and that means you do not need to do a lot of configurations. And in the same analogy that Someleze gave, similar to Office 365, where you don't need knobs to adjust the performance or for tools like Excel and Word. Similarly, Microsoft Fabric, you really need really need very less knobs to adjust the changes, and everything is deeply integrated and everything just actually works. The second key promise for Microsoft Fabric is that it's lake-centric and open. And with Microsoft Fabric, we introduced this concept of the one lake, where it's just one central position, or rather one central place where your organization can have all its data located in. So you have one lake for the entire organization. You don't need to purchase another storage with Microsoft Fabric. It's just one lake, infinite in scale as well. And the third key promise for Microsoft Fabric is empowering every business user, because when you've brought in all your data into this unified platform, what's the use of having all that data if your business users actually don't use? And that's why within Microsoft Fabric, we have a deep integration with tools like Power BI that allow your business users in tools like Excel and PowerPoint to be able to access the data that you actually have in Microsoft Fabric. And that allows you to go quickly from insight directly to actions in the hands of your business users. And the last key promise for Microsoft Fabric is that it's AI powered. In every experience for Microsoft Fabric, you do have some AI supercharged capabilities, as we'll be going through them. So in each of the various experiences that Someleza showed, from Power BI all the way to Data Factory, we do have AI capabilities that are built in to allow you to be able to work pretty fast and be able to go faster from insight directly to action. Now, as part of today's conversation, our conversation directly centered on AI-powered experiences within Microsoft Fabric, and we're going to see now, like, how exactly do these AI-powered experiences within Microsoft Fabric enable you or empower your teams directly when you're using Microsoft Fabric. So, with generative AI built into Microsoft Fabric, there are 3 key use cases that can help you build a data-rich culture. And the first Gen AI solution is out-of-the-box solution within Microsoft Fabric that can easily boost productivity of your data teams. So you have Copilots on every angle. You know, we have Copilot for Data Factory, Copilot for data science, for data engineering, even Copilot in Power BI. And these Copilots can help automate and also streamline tasks, empowering your teams to work faster and even more efficiently. The second way that Copilot, or rather, the second way that we empower your data teams with generative AI is having powerful AI models directly integrated into Microsoft Fabric, allowing you to dive deeper into your data to uncover hidden patterns and insights. And this model can help you build your own custom experiences on top of your data. And the third way is that generative AI is also going to allow you to create custom experiences that are tailored to your specific needs. So you are able to ground customizations for these models based on your data, and then you can be able to build solutions that actually align perfectly with your business goals. And we're going to explore each of these different ways in more depth. And to do that, I think, Someleza, you can help us understand further on AI-powered experiences with Copilot of Fabric.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks with that, Josh. So with Copilot accelerated solutions, we can move away from product-specific tools that require niche expertise to focus on turning your ideas into reality using Copilot within Microsoft Fabric. So Copilot is actually designed to benefit everyone at every level in every organization, whether you're a business user or you're a pro coder. So this lets us move away from, one, needing to master complex tools to working with a creative assistant, two, being siloed on specific products to working in a cross-cutting experience, and also from being focused on manually building artifacts to refining automatically generated content. So this helps you to become much more productive within Microsoft Fabric as well. But most importantly, with Copilot, you're always in control. You decide what to keep, modify, or discard. That's the reason why this is called Copilot and not Autopilot. You are still in control when you're using Copilot within Microsoft Fabric and within other products that actually have Copilot enabled. Right, so Copilot Microsoft Fabric, how does it look like? We are infusing AI into every layer in Microsoft Fabric to help every data professional get more done faster. With Copilot in Microsoft Fabric, you can use natural language to create data flows and pipelines, write SQL statements, build reports, or even develop machine learning models. In Power BI, you can create stunning reports and summarize your insights into a narrative summary in seconds. Also, in Data Factory, in which we might show you a bit later, you can simply describe how you want to ingest your data and transform the data using natural language, and Copilot does the rest. When working in a notebook in a data engineering experience or data science experience, you can more quickly enrich, model, analyze, and explore your data using Copilot in these experiences. Right. Let's talk about Copilot in Power BI, Copilot for Power BI in Microsoft Fabric. So Power BI has introduced generative AI that allows you to create reports automatically by selecting the topic for a report or by prompting Copilot on a particular topic and create a narrative visual that generates a summary of your report using generative AI. So you can create this beautiful and insightful reports by just chatting with Copilot. You can define metrics and calculations for your data model by just describing them in natural language. And also you can use Copilot to find and summarize insights in your data. What I love about the Copilot experience within Power BI is that you can be able to get the suggestions based off of how your data model actually looks like, and Copilot will give you a few suggestions on which kind of visuals you can be able to build. Then, how does Copilot for Data Factory look like? Copilot in Microsoft Fabric also enhances productivity, which unlocks profound insights and facilitates the creation of custom AI experiences tailored to your data. As a component of Copilot in the Fabric experience, Copilot for Data Factory empowers customers to use natural language to articulate their requirements for creating data integration solutions using their Dataflow Gen 2. Essentially, Copilot for Data Factory operates like a subject matter expert, for an example, collaborating with you to design your data flows. Again, you're in control. It's not autopilot, it's Copilot. So you can chat with Copilot to describe the data transformations in natural language. You can tap into generative AI capabilities from Azure OpenAI as data transformation steps. And also you can use Copilot to schedule and run and manage your data flows. But how does Copilot for data engineering and data science look like, Josh?
Right. So Copilot for data science and data engineering is designed to help you analyze and visualize your data effortlessly. So it's going to work seamlessly with your Lakehouse table, with the files in your Lakehouse, with your Power BI data sets, as well as work with Spark and Pandas with Pandas, Spark, and Spark data frames. So Copilot is going to provide direct answers and code snippets directly within the notebook that you're working in, making data analysis actually much, much more efficient. Now, the easiest way to begin using Copilot in notebooks is by loading your data in a data frame. And then once you have your data in the data frame, you can begin asking questions either from the chart panel, as we're going to see in a short while, or directly using the chart magics within your notebook. And you'll find that Copilot will not just understand your data structure and its metadata, but if your data is also in a data frame, it has full awareness of the data within. And from there, you can be able to ask Copilot things like, getting insights about your data, requesting for visualizations based on the data that you have, or even asking for code to perform transformations. Copilot within the data science and the data engineering experience also is going to recognize file names for ease of reference, and it's going to help you navigate through your data much effectively. So it's going to work alongside you, generating code for you, providing suggestions in terms of how best to analyze your data. And it can even go ahead and summarize and explain code and how it works, because sometimes you might be dealing with code that you did actually author. So in that kind of scenario, Copilot becomes a very good guide to help you get started quickly and move along. The other Copilot experience we actually have is the Copilot for data warehouse. And Copilot for data warehouse makes working with SQL very much easier and much effective, or rather efficient. So you can be able to use Copilot to help you write your SQL queries. It can help you understand SQL queries as well. And it makes it very, very easy to explain queries, SQL queries, and even generate detailed comments next to the code that you're actually working with. And so as you're writing new queries, Copilot can even provide suggestions, or rather can be able to help you continue writing your code much faster and much efficient. On top of that, if you run into an issue, Copilot is going to help you fix the issues with just a few clicks, allowing you to save much valuable time and definitely minimizing the frustrations that comes with that. And besides the other copilots we've mentioned, the last copilot experience within Microsoft Fabric is the copilot for real-time intelligence. Now, with copilot for real-time intelligence, it's going to allow users to effortlessly leverage copilot when they're dealing with real-time data. So all the other copilots that we've showcased, they are copilots that are allowing you when you're working with static data in your lakehouse, right? But now when you're dealing with real-time data and the real-time intelligence experience, you have a copilot that easily allows you to engage or rather ask questions about your real-time data in conversational language. Now, once you ask these questions in your natural language, Copilot can then translate these questions into a KQL query that can be ready for you to execute. So this particularly becomes very helpful for individuals that may not be familiar writing KQL queries, but you still want to get the most out of your time series data that is stored in your event house. And this seamless experience for Copilot integration in real-time intelligence is going to help users to access insights from their real-time data without the need of complex query writing, making it an incredible tool to explore your time series data efficiently. Now, beyond the Copilot experiences that we've talked about, from Copilot for Power BI, Copilot in data science and data engineering, Copilot for real-time intelligence, and also the Copilot for Data Factory. On top of that, we also have LLM programming made easier inside of Microsoft Fabric. So we've made LLM programming easier within Microsoft Fabric by empowering data scientists with native OpenAI model integration. So this is going to allow your teams to directly use powerful models like GPT-4 models and GPT-4 Vision directly within your Fabric notebooks to analyze data and uncover even deeper insights. So think of these when you want to go beyond leveraging the out-of-the-box experiences with copilots and you want to start building your custom solutions on top of your data. We've made actually these very easy. And for custom generative AI models, you can leverage tools like LangChain and Semantic Kernel directly within Microsoft Fabric to develop and scale these models seamlessly within your Fabric notebooks. Now, additionally, using Synapse ML, we've also simplified the process of massive scalable AI-powered data processing. And this actually means now you can be able to handle large data sets and complex workflow, streamlining them with their AI-driven operations. So beyond leveraging these built-in tools with the copilots, the moment you want to switch gears and start building your own custom solutions using large language models, we have these built-in solutions directly for you. And since we've done a lot of talking around copilots, I think it's only fair if we were to switch up and do a few demos. So Meleza.
Yeah, for sure. We'll need to quickly switch to my screen for the demo. So I'm just going to bring this over here. And then, actually, this is the one that I need. So here I have a data flow Gen 2 that's already been built. I already have some data being ingested. I have a few tables that are in here. If you've never seen a data flow Gen 2, so I have some tables, dimension customers, dimension employee, person, dimension products, dimension shipping, and sales. So within the data flow Gen 2 for when you're using Data Factory, you can do a few transformations. You can do that manually, for an example, if you want to be in control, if you want to, remove some columns, or you want to remove some rows. Let's say you want to remove empty rows from a specific query within one of the queries that you actually have for your Dataflow Gen 2, you can do that. But in our case, we're actually going to look at how we can use Copilot for Data Factory to actually achieve some of those things. First, the thing that I'm going to do is to actually choose a table or a query that I want to work with. So I'm going to choose sales. And there's a preview of my table of how it actually looks like. So here with the sales table, I have a few columns that I see that I may need if at a later point, me and Josh actually want to visualize this data, for an example. But it doesn't really tell a complete story. So for an example, if I wanted to know about the revenue being generated from some of the sales, I don't have a column that actually tells me that story. So We're going to do that using Copilot. We're going to ask Copilot to actually help us add a few columns that will allow us to actually be able to get the revenue that's being generated. So how do we do that? So within the data flow Gen 2, we're going to select the Copilot button at the top, right? So what I'm going to try to do first is also try to zoom in on my screen. So let's see if I can zoom in, and then that's probably going to be better. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the button at the top for Copilot, and then we'll open Copilot on the side pane. And with that Copilot being open, you can be able to see a few suggestions on what Copilot can do. So for an example, it can create a new query that references an existing query or includes sample data, or it can add a step to an existing query, which is something that we're going to do. It can describe an existing query or steps. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, I'm just going to zoom out on the queries there so that we can be able to see which one we have selected. And to use Copilot for Data Factory, you need to be able to select the query that you're working with so that you can get the best optimum performance from Copilot. So the first thing that we're going to do is actually going to ask Copilot to describe this query. So we're going to prompt it to describe this query to see if we can start it up. And then what Copilot will do would actually try to describe the steps inside of the query that we have. Like for an example, we say here's an explanation for sales. It says we retrieved the CSV data, promoted headers, and changed column data types. So for an example, it will tell us what's the source, will tell us what we did next, which is promoted headers, and then it changed the column type, in which it's those applied steps when I loaded my data inside of the data flow Gen 2, right? Okay, now let's get into trying to get a column that will allow us to know the revenue generated by the sales. So the first thing that we're going to do is ask it to add a column. I like being specific with Copilot, so I'm going to give it an actual column name. So add a column called gross revenue, and I tell it which is a product of unit price and the order quantity, because we have an order quantity for ourselves. So between unit price and order quantity, we want the revenue that's being generated. And then when I hit enter here, then Copilot would actually add a column that would then be called gross revenue. And actually, it in a sense knows that this column is going to be a decimal because we're dealing with money in this case. So it added a gross revenue column called gross revenue with some of the values that are being calculated using order quantity and unit price. What I love about this is because I may have opted to actually add the column myself and having to actually do the multiplication myself. But in this case, I actually asked Copilot to actually help me do this. And I also have the option with Copilot to say if the results that were being returned here with this column did not make sense to me, I have the option to actually undo that action that was actioned by Copilot. Okay, what's next? The next thing is I see that we also have a unit price discount that is a column here. So now what I want to know is how much is the discount value really? So we may want to know what's the discount value instead of actually getting the unit price discount, which is the percentage. So we may try to actually add another prompt here in which Josh, feel free to actually help me with this prompt and say maybe add a column. You say discount value, which is a product of gross revenue, which is a product of gross revenue and the unit price discount. So even when you're using Copilot, you don't have to be as specific as I just like being specific so that I can be able to get my desired output. But in a case where you just said add a column, let's say for example, discount value, Copilot would have added that specific column for you, and then you were going to look at the results, or you're going to look at the results that Copilot actually provided for you, and then you were going to be the judge of, do you want to keep this desired values, or do you want to discard them and actually try again? So you can do that. But in my case, I always advise being very specific with Copilot so that you can get the desired output. But now in this case, with this added discount value column, in this case, it actually said, okay, we have a discount value column that is a product of gross revenue and unit price discount, but it actually was not sure whether to make it a text value or to make it a number value. In our case, we know that it's an actual value, which is number. So we can make that, we can actually change that and make it into a decimal. Like I said, you're still in control with Copilot. It's not autopilot, it's Copilot. So to change this column type, for an example, I can right click on the column name. And then in this case, I can select change type, and then I'll choose decimal number. And if I wanted to actually make it into a currency, I would have made it into a currency. And another option is that you can see that it's rounded it off to three decimal places, sometimes to 4 decimal places. But in this case, if you wanted to round it off yourself to 2 decimal places, you still have the capability and the ability to actually do that yourself instead of actually asking Copilot to do that. Maybe if I was more specific with Copilot and told it to say, hey, can you then make sure that the result is rounded off to 2 decimal places, then Copilot would have done that for me. But in a case where I'm trying to show you that you still have full control of what you can do with Copilot. Okay, let's add another column, which is net revenue, which is dealing with the revenue. And then we're going to showcase another capability of what Copilot can do for Data Factory. So in this case, I'm going to say add a column called add a column net revenue. In this case, I'm going to be less specific. Add a column net revenue. We know that net revenue is going to be the difference between the discount value and gross revenue, but we're going to be less specific and see if Copilot can actually pick up on what kind of calculation can be able to do for you when you're doing the data transformation for you. So in this case, it was able to actually pick up that, okay, net revenue is the difference between gross revenue and discount value. But then again, it wasn't sure on what kind of column type will it make it to be. And then in this case, this is where you can actually have your full control, where you are able to say, okay, I'm going to change the type of or the data type of that specific column into a decimal, or if you were working with percentages, you were going to change it to a desired outcome. And what I want to draw your attention on the screen is that Copilot said, I added the following steps to your query. So we're adding steps to an existing query called sales, and it tells you which kind of calculation it did. It did a subtraction or a difference between those two columns earlier on. Whereas when you looked at the other ones that we did, it did multiplication, for an example, and it added all of those steps. And if we were to say describe this query again, it was going to describe all of the steps that we actually have for that specific query. Okay, now what happens if you want to do something else with Copilot for Data Factory? You don't want to add steps to an existing query. Let's say, for an example, you want to play around with it and say you want to add sample data. Let's actually do that together. How we can do that is, for an example, we're going to enter data manually. Again, like I said, it's Copilot, not autopilot, so you're still in control. We're going to add data manually in this case, where we're going to say, because of our data estate with Josh, we're trying to see how we can visualize the sales data based off of dates, fiscal years, quarters within that specific fiscal year. In this case, we may need a new query that actually has values for dates and also has values for fiscal year and also the quarters in that fiscal year. So in this case, I'm just going to say in my new table that I'm creating, I'm going to say those column is date key, right? And I'm not going to add any data. Then I'm going to select OK. And then this will actually create a new query for me. And then I can just change the name of that query here and say dimension date in this case, and which we'll use it later on if we want to visualize this data again, like I mentioned. And you can see that it says this table has no rows. So how can we use Copilot to assist us in actually getting sample data there that actually makes sense to what we're trying to achieve with visualizing our data? So to do that, we can be able to say, add data or add sample data to the date key column with values starting from, let's say, the 1st of January 2012 to the 31st of December 2013, for an example. Then let's see if Copilot can be able to allow us to actually add sample data onto our table that we just created so that we can be able to use a little bit later on. And that's what it does. It actually adds in sample data for us, which is starting from the 1st of January 2012 till the 31st of December 2013. So I don't want to scroll through all of the rows within the specific query, but Copilot has enabled us to actually have sample data there. And again, I'm still in control because this is a date column. Copilot was still unsure on which data type should it give this column. So in this case, I can be able to have that full control and actually change that and say it's actually date, right? And then I can be able to do further transformations with this specific thing. So if I want to actually add more steps, like for an example, I want to take the day value of that date, the month value of that date, the year value alone of that date, and then be able to create fiscal year and quarter, I can then be able to do that working closely with Copilot, giving it instructions on how to go about doing that. So I'm not going to showcase that right now, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how Copilot can also help you get sample data. Then another thing that I want to showcase before Josh actually takes over is that you can also use Copilot. So I want to see if I can minimize this preview. You can use Copilot to also create joins. You can join two queries or join two tables using Copilot. For an example, you don't have to do that manually. So in our case, to do that, I'm going to choose the person table. I'm going to choose the person table. I'm going to select the person table because I want to join the person table and dimension customer. The reason is because, in which Josh may show you this a little bit later on, is that the person table has a demographics column that has data that we may need to use a little bit later on when we are training a machine learning model, for an example, or trying to visualize the data using Power BI. So I want to do that for our customer because the person table only has data for everyone that is involved with our fictitious company, which is including also employees. But in this case, we just want data that is relating to our customers. So that's the reason why we would need to do a join between person and the dimension customer table. So to do that, I'm going to minimize this again. Then I'm going to select one of the queries because that's how Copilot works for Copilot for Data Factory. And then I'm just going to write a simple query that says join dimension customer and person tables. And then we'll see if Copilot will be able to join those two tables on person ID or on a common column that those both tables actually share. So in this case, it says it can't do that because obviously it may be that when I selected person, I didn't check which common column does person and dimension customer actually have. So in this case, we'll quickly look at that. We have person ID, and then we have, if we look at dimension customer, we have customer ID and person ID. So we have it there. So we're gonna try and switch it around and just select dimension customer instead of person. So I'm just gonna choose this query again and then see if we can be able to have a successful run of Copilot trying to join the two tables, and then we can be able to select the demographics column. So in this case, it was able to do that, right? So don't mind this. This is just data privacy that we have set up in our tenant. But in this case, if I just quickly do that and save this, that error should actually go away. And then you will see this new query that's been generated. If I just minimize that quickly, this new query that's being generated is a join between dimension, customer, and person. So sometimes when you use Copilot for Data Factory, you have to be mindful which query you're selecting and how you've worded your prompt using Copilot. So for an example, Mac is said join dimension customer and person tables whilst having selected person, and then it was a bit confused on what I was trying to do. But in this case, when I selected dimension customer, it was able to join the two queries. So now if I look at the data preview, I can be able to see that it was actually successful in joining the two tables. Now I have all of the columns from the dimension customer table and also the person table, including what we were trying to look for, which is demographics. So in this case, it seems like it was excluded, but it is able to do that. It is able to join two queries. It is able to join two tables using the prompt that you actually used. So in this case, if I'm not happy with the results, like I said, I can select undo, and then it'll revert back any changes that I actually made. So basically, that's just a rough idea of how you can be able to use Copilot for Data Factory within Microsoft Fabric to either add steps in an existing query, or to create a new query and then add synthetic data that you can be able to use a bit later on to do further transformations. So now I'm just going to hand it over to Josh so that he can show us how Copilot for the data engineering and data science workloads actually looks like.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Someleze. That was really, really nice. So I'm going to switch over to my screen. Yep, I'm going to switch over to my screen, and here you can see some of the tables that we've loaded through using the Data Factory experience directly into the Lakehouse. So in this case, I loaded the person table, the products table, and the sales table. It's the same tables that Someleze was actually working with in the Data Factory workload. So in this case, we're going to use these three tables, and I'm going to show you the experience for Copilot inside for Copilot for data engineering and data science. Now, as usual, for when you're dealing with data science and data engineering workloads, you live inside your notebook. So like you're writing your code inside your notebooks. And as in any other, I mean, most of all the other Copilot experiences, on this top ribbon, you have the Copilot button, and this becomes your entry point when you want to start leveraging Copilot. And so when you click the Copilot button, it opens this pane on the right, and you have this button here, you can get started. So if it's the first time when dealing with a new notebook, if you click on get started, it's going to insert this new cell right here that is going to allow you to install all the required packages for you to begin using Copilot within your notebook. And so once you execute this cell, it's going to take a few seconds to run and install all the required packages for you to begin working with Copilot inside your notebook. And once that's done, you're going to get some quick explanations in regards to the disclaimer for how your data is used within the Copilot experience. And one of the things is your data is not used to train machine learning, to train the underlying models. Your data is not available to other customers, and also your data is not stored. So your experience here within Copilot, and then goes ahead and provides some basic guidance, some of the usage of the chat magics, which I'll show you in a few. And we have a few chat magics to get started. We have like the code chat magics that generates code for you, and we have some more chat magics below here. And so I can go ahead and just kind of hide this output, and then we can proceed. So I have this notebook here, and I loaded this notebook directly as is with the code with the code it has. And in many cases, this is your life as a data engineer or a data scientist. You might be dealing with code that you're not the one who actually authored. And in that case, Copilot can be able to give you a heads up to quickly understand what the other person who actually wrote the code, what was, or they were trying to actually achieve. And so I can quickly use the chat magics right within the Copilot experience, and using the chat magics, I can go ahead and ask, just explain this block of code step by step, and I can go ahead and execute that. And I can also do the same for the second block of code here. And you see what happens is Copilot goes ahead and provides an in-depth explanation of this code block. So you see this code is using PySpark to manipulate data frame. It's importing the necessary functions. It's joining two data frames, the DF cells and the products on the product ID. So it goes ahead and provides that nice explanation. And even for the second one, this was a large block of code. Similarly, Copilot goes ahead and explains for this code block, we're using PySpark to parse XML data and transform it into a structured data frame. We're defining a schema and then defining a function to pass the values from the XML string. Remember the demographics column that Sommelier has shown in the previous demonstration. So we're using that to extract the details for this particular person, which is in the XML. So we're using a user-defined function. And if you're like me and you're like, okay, what is a user-defined function? It becomes very much easy to leverage the Copilot on the left pane to ask questions as you proceed. So I can use the two experiences, one inline with code magics and also the one on the left to interact directly using chat. And Copilot goes back and explains, like a UDF stands for user-defined function. In the context of a PySpark, it's a way to define custom functions and apply them to individual data frame columns. So basically, that's exactly what we're doing here. We're defining a user-defined function to pass the XML defined in the schema, and then performing some transformation. All right, so that makes sense. So I can go ahead and remove these chat magics and then go ahead and execute this cell. But before that, I also need to remove these ones, and I can go ahead and even ask Copilots to add comments before executing this code, to add comments to this particular code block. So Copilot goes ahead and adds the comments so that next time I don't need to ask again what this code block is doing, and I can now go ahead and execute those two cells. So I've gone ahead and showed you how Copilot can help you actually understand the code and even understand other terms other terms within your notebook. The other thing that Copilot can do beyond just explaining code, you can see in this last in this code block here, the last data frame we created a data frame called DF customer details. So I can even ask Copilot to actually describe this particular data frame. So I can again use chat magics and ask Copilot to describe this data frame. Now, keep in mind, now it's not code explanation. Now it's actually trying to understand the structure of this particular data frame. And Copilot goes ahead and says, this data frame contains customer details such as personal information, purchase history, product preferences, goes ahead to list the top columns, from first name all the way. And down here, it lists all the other remaining columns. So this can be helpful when you're dealing with quite a number of data frames inside your notebook, and you can just jump in and ask Copilot to describe the particular data frame that you're working with. And apart from just helping with description, you can even go a step further and do code generation. Like, for example, for this data frame, I see we have this column called the total purchase year to date. I can go ahead and ask Copilot, generate code for me to remove this column. And as fast as that was, Copilot just goes ahead and gives you a code block that you can be able to execute to drop that particular column. All right, so I'm going to try and fix All right. So again, it's a Copilot. It's not an autopilot, and it always tells you, AI can make mistakes, so you need to review your code before executing, and that's exactly what happened. But I can fix that quickly, and again, continue with the flow. Beyond that, I can always use these two Copilot experiences interchangeably. I can even use the chart, the Copilot panel on the left, and ask it, just add a column age to this particular data frame using 2012 as the current year. And notice I just mentioned the data frame as is, and even the chart panel on the left will have context of what data frame I'm actually talking about. And so what that happens is Copilot is again going, let me just expand this. Copilot is going to generate the code for you. And apart from generating code, it also provides an explanation of what that particular code block actually does. And you can use this button directly here to insert the code inside your code block and inside your notebook, and then review your code again and go ahead and execute. And in the interest of time, just to show you some other capabilities for Copilot, we can even take these a step further for folks who actually build machine learning models using the notebook experiences within Microsoft Fabric. You can take these a step further by providing a complex prompt, like, suggest how we can build a predictive machine learning model using this data frame to predict if a customer is likely to buy a bike or not, to help the AdventureWorks bike shop build a targeted market campaign, and then using the is bikes by a column as a target column. And I can be able to execute this. And Copilot, again, is going to understand the context of this particular data frame that we're dealing with, generate the code for you to review upon and insert, and then iterate on top of all of that. And again, Copilot gives you the code. You can insert that. And apart from just doing that, it provides some explanations on the same. You can review the code and then go ahead and execute the same. So those are some of the capabilities within Copilot. But before I end this demonstration, I'm just going to clear the chart right there, and you can be able to see we have some startup prompts as well here, like, for example, loading data from the lakehouse, generating insights from your data. You can use some of these, and you can come inside here and provide whatever data frame it is, df cast details. And Copilot, again, is going to understand the kind of data that you're working with, and it's going to provide insights even in terms of how can you go ahead and visualize your data. So I think we're going to jump back to the slides, but those are some of the capabilities for the Copilot powered experiences for data engineering and data science.
Yeah, for sure. That was amazing, Josh. So without wasting any time, so we're going to look at the AI skills of Microsoft Fabric. So I'm not going to show you a demo for this one since we're low on time, but you can also use AI skills within Microsoft Fabric. But you're wondering, what are AI skills in Microsoft Fabric? So this is actually part of Microsoft Fabric, which AI Skills is designed to provide any user with conversational Q&A experience about their data. AI Skills actually allows you to simply select the data source in Microsoft Fabric you want to explore and immediately start asking questions. Asking questions about your data even without configuration. So when answering the questions, the generative AI experience will show the query it generated to find the answer, and you can enhance the Q&A experience by configuring the settings for that specific AI skill. Also, AI skills will honor the existing security permissions and can be configured to respect the unique language and nuances of your organization, ensuring that responses are not just data-driven, but steeped in the context of your business operations. And also, coming soon, you can also enrich the creation of new co-pilots in the Microsoft Copilot Studio and be interacted with from the Microsoft 365 Copilot. I was going to show you a demo, but since we are low on time, we're just going to switch over to Fabric and Azure AI. Josh.
Thanks. So Microsoft Fabric is making data accessible to everyone using AI to transform data into actionable insights, no matter the level of technical expertise. As we've shown, it becomes very fast for you to interact with your data, to interact with the processes within Microsoft Fabric, regardless of the level of your technical expertise. But to get your data AI ready, there are a few essential steps that you actually need to follow. The first one is you need to establish a central repository for your data. And many organizations actually face the challenge of disconnected specialized analytics system. And we all know the saying of garbage in and garbage out. And so as businesses are trying to modernize their business capabilities, it becomes very crucial to integrate all these disconnected sources into one unified system. And Microsoft Fabric's One Lake serves as that centralized data lake that allows you to consolidate your data in one place for easy access and management. And on top of that, it's secured and governed to ensure your data is well protected. The next step is you need to prepare your data for AI integration and for AI and machine learning models to actually deliver accurate results. They need clean, semi-structured data, and Microsoft Fabric makes this step very easy with, the built-in experiences like data integration, data engineering, data warehousing, and these tools are going to allow, or rather, are going to ensure that your data is complete, accurate, well-governed before you actually begin building your own AI custom models on top of your data. On top of that, it becomes important to note that when you're building reliable AI models, you require a large volume of data, and to expand your data coverage without breaking the bank, consider using tools like Power Platform to gather additional inputs from various systems, allowing you to actually create a comprehensive data set. And finally, when you have to build your generative AI experiences, now when you've already done step number 1 and step number 2, when you need to build generative AI experiences on top of your data, once you have a clean, well-structured data set, you can now begin using building these tools using tools like AI Studio. But remember, the first 2 steps are the most crucial. Centralizing your data and preparing it for AI are they're very, very much essential to ensure that your AI models are accurate and actually dependable. Now, generative AI is not just the next step in AI development, so it's going to represent the most significant advancements in computing. And with the launch of tools like, or technologies like ChatGPT, solutions like Copilot are actually now beginning to transform productivity, as we've just shown, and allowing the early adopters of these tools to actually focus on more high value activities. So we have different tools. Microsoft Fabric is there as a solution for unified solution analytics, and you have Azure AI Studio, which serves as your gateway to build AI apps and custom Copilot experiences. And the thing is, even from AI Studio, you can be able to access the data that you actually have within One Lake. So these tools become very easy for you. You're able to create that one centralized data source, and then you can be able to leverage AI on top of all of your data when you need to build these custom AI tools. So I'm going to switch over directly to the pricing. Because I already saw some questioning around Copilot in Fabric, the pricing. So one thing to note is that Copilot in Microsoft Fabric is only available to customers who've actually purchased the F64 capacity or higher, or Power BI Premium capacity at P1 or above. And it's important to note that the Copilot service is not actually included in the free trial for Microsoft Fabric or the Power BI per user licenses as well. And on top of that, you can easily monitor Copilot usage against your existing Microsoft Fabric or Power BI Premium capacity. And this really simplifies the process of managing your resources. So for more detailed information in regards to pricing, you can be able to refer to the Copilot billing documentation using the URL aka.ms/copilot-billing-docs. So the current status for Copilot, everything we've actually showed you, Copilot in Data Factory, Data Warehouse, Data Science, and Real-Time Intelligence, all those Copilots are actually in public preview, and you can be able to try them out today. And the Copilot in Power BI is generally available. So there are a few steps when you need to enable Copilot. It's not available out of the box, so your administrator must enable the tenant switch before you actually begin using Copilot in your organization. And this is also well documented on the documentation. And as mentioned earlier, you need an F64 capacity or a P1 capacity, and this as well needs to be in one of the supported regions. And it's important to note that by default, Copilot is disabled. That's why you'll need to ensure that your administrator turns it on. And lastly is that Copilot inside of Microsoft Fabric isn't supported on trial SKUs. So only F64 or higher or P1 or higher are actually supported within Microsoft Fabric. So I think that's it about the Copilot experiences in Microsoft Fabric and also the AI-powered capabilities within Microsoft Fabric. And I'll give it back to Someleze to help wind up.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. So we've reached the end of our live stream, but there's a few other housekeeping things that you need to take note of. The Microsoft Fabric and AI Learning Hackathon is still ongoing. We have a few upcoming live streams and AMAs scheduled. So today was the Copilot in Microsoft Fabric. Make sure to join us again for Building with Generative AI in Microsoft Fabric on October 8th. And also make sure that you join us for all of the dates that you see on screen, October 29th, October 31st, November 5th, and November 7th for all of the other sessions that we actually have. And also make sure you visit the link that you see on the screen or scan the QR code that you see on the screen on https://ms/fabric hack so that you can get all of the details about the Fabric hackathon. And also, if you have any questions and you're looking for answers, make sure that you join the AMAs that we actually have. So we already had our first AMA on September 17th. The next one that we're going to have is on October 8th. So make sure that you do not miss on that, which is Microsoft Fabric and AI Learning Hackathon informational session, which is what you will build. So with that, from me and Josh, thank you.
Thank you.